Hello, everybody. I'm Marilyn Bradford, and joining me for this edition of the Irreverent Therapists is Pam Houghteling.
Hello, everybody.
This week's topic is, do you tango or swing? What's your style in life? Dramatic, loose?
Wait a second. We've got something going on.
What?
It was coming through. I have the Facebook page open, so I was hearing you twice.
We want to start again? We're still
No, we're just gonna keep going with the bloopers.
We're just gonna keep going. Okay, I'll start again on this. What's your style like? Dramatic, loose? Do you execute certain predetermined moves or go with the flow? Are you engaged with others in premeditated ways? Or do you kind of do your own thing and just, see what happens? What if you took a chance and broke away from your style? What kind of adventure might that be? Ta-da! And guess what? We don't have to be perfect. Our style is not being perfect.
And speaking of not being perfect, I'm going to plug in my earbuds because people are outside making noise. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounds like thunder to me.
Oh, well, could be.
So, Marilyn.
Yeah.
What is do you swing or tango to you?
Well, that's interesting because I've been looking about how much I plan a day, a future. It's like, okay, so I know that today I'm going to be going at 4:00 to a talk at the library. And then, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to make a dinner? I'm like, that is not going with the flow, Marilyn, which is not to say that you don't. These days, it's high tourist season where I live. And if I want a reservation at a decent restaurant, I have to make it usually a week or two in advance. But that's just being practical. And that's not the thing about planning stuff like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, is you're not present. And I've also really been looking at what does it take to be really present and aware of what needs to be done. Because not being present, well, we can be not present for a whole variety of reasons. But one of the things it does is it helps you to stumble down the stairs or drive your car into a tree or not notice that your taxes are due. Or, to the extent that you're not present and avoidant because you're over here, you're in your head, you're planning all of this stuff, it can be kind of a disaster. You can plan and still operate from being present and being aware. So that's what I've been looking at recently. What about you, Pam?
Well, for me, there's that, right? The presence. There's also kind of the ability and willingness to change. And this might surprise you, Marilyn, but when I was a kid, I was someone who did not like change at all.
I could see that actually.
Yeah. I'm enough of a control freak. You can see it. But at the same time, now I work with a business that everything changes all the time. And you have to be willing to basically change in 10-second increments. As that's a tool that Marilyn and I both use all the time. And so to me, you can make plans, but you're also present in the moment with the energy and what's shifting and changing. And you don't force something that is just because you decided a while ago that that's what you were going to do or what a step your business is going to take or something like that. It's that willingness to, in terms of using the imagery that you had, do you tango or swing? You could be like tangoing and suddenly be like, okay, now it's time to swing, and you shift like that. So to me, this conversation is about that kind of being able to be okay with and embrace change. It doesn't mean you can't, that some people hear that 10-second tool and they're like, well, every 10 seconds I'm going to change my mind, and every 10 seconds and they just kind of, I don't know, go all over the place in a way that's not actually creating anything for themselves.
Yeah.
So to me, it's about being present with the moment, the people you're with, the energy, and choosing. And then you see what that creates, and then you choose again.
You said to me once, Marilyn, you can change on a dime. And then that's actually true. Yeah. And I was also looking at that. How does that go with, okay, I've got to do this afternoon. I've got to do this. And then I'll go, no, I'm not doing that. That doesn't sound like fun. That doesn't make me happy. I'm not doing that. But the thing that I also realized is sometimes I'm resistant to changing on a dime or choosing what's going to work for me because of my conclusions of how it's going to affect other people. And I want to be respectful, and probably underneath it, I want to be seen as a competent person or something like that. So I'm kind of letting go of all of that.
Yeah.
And in place of that, not just going off, I'm not going to show up at my restaurant reservation, but okay, asking a question. And that's another great tool that both Pam and I use all the time. Okay, if I do cancel this, what does that create? Is it light? Is it heavy? Is it, what do I need to do? Not just to follow what's going on with me, but to be aware of what's going to create greater for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm really looking at, is not going to conclusion of, well, if I do this, that's not fair, this is great, or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, just asking a question.
Well, and, here and there, we've given you guys tidbits about, the early years for Marilyn and I. And one of the things, so when I first became an Access Consciousness facilitator, Marilyn, you were just creating Right Recovery for You. Mm-hmm. And I helped you, right? You hired me to help you with the business. Mm-hmm. And, what I remember so much from that is you would have this awareness. We'd start creating towards that. Mm-hmm. But then you were also, when things changed and circumstances changed or whatever, you were willing to go, yep, that was a great idea. And now we're not doing that. Let's go this way instead. Uh-huh. And you didn't go, oh, we did all that work and now it's ruined. We're not using it yet, which is what some people do, right? It's like, well, if I put in the time and the effort and then it doesn't go the way I thought it would, then I've failed, right? Yes. But instead, for you and me and the creation that we were doing, it was every moment, every step of the way contributed to where we eventually, what we created. And you were willing to just go, pivot this way, change directions, because we'd be creating, and then the energy of it would shift, and maybe the circumstances of what was going on would shift. And you were always willing to just go, let's try something new. And so to me, that is part of the whole, do you tango or swing? It's that willingness to kind of see what is and see how it's going. Mm-hmm. And even though you might have been heading this way for a long time, that you can go, oh, wait, what's actually going to create more is this over here. Let's shift. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up. And thank you for saying that, Pam, because right now with my business with Right Recovery, this has been a very interesting 6 months or so. Because normally, we do these classes, and finally I said to the team, this isn't working. I don't know what's going to work, but this is what we've done before. We've changed, the world changed, the business has changed. So what else can we create? And that can be a little scary because income and all of that. But if you're beating your head against the wall to try to keep something alive that's just not relevant anymore, or just is not in its current form anyway. I mean, we didn't dump everything, but we're like, all righty, let's move these classes way out and see what happens. And we're working on this new thing that I'm actually really excited about. And that's one thing I want to say about the willingness to change things up. If you find yourself with your business or your family or whatever it is, just kind of depressed and lackluster, it's time to change. That doesn't mean you get a divorce or that you trash your whole business. It's like, once again, asking the question, okay, this isn't working. What else could work? what could we change? What have I decided is not possible with blank that actually is possible with blank, that would, if I would allow it to actualize, would create a whole different reality with blank. I spent years as a psychotherapist, and one of the things that I realized is, if you just give people like a family suggestions, why don't you try this? Or what if you changed this point of view? Things can change miraculously. And that's one of the things that we often fail to realize. We think the way something is the only way it can be and the only way it has to be. And that's like a death wish, honestly.
Well, and what you're talking about is one of the aspects of having a successful business is that ability to see that the world's changing, the demand, the what works is changing. Just because we've been doing this way doesn't mean keep going that way. That's how companies go out of business, because they didn't see the trends of what was changing. Kodak. That was just what I was thinking about. Yeah. And, again, Marilyn and I keep mentioning access consciousness because we're access consciousness facilitators. But the whole company and, the facilitators who teach the classes and all are mostly functioning from these kinds of the questions and the 10-second increments and things. So when something like COVID happened, it was just like immediately shift everything. This is what we've been doing. Now we're doing something different. So it's very adaptable and lets you or your business or whatever kind of entity group you're talking about be able to shift and change with ease.
One of the things that reminded me of, Pam, it's like as children or parents of children, we expect them to change all the time. I mean, what if you said, okay, you have to stay
until they're like 21 or 22 and then they need to be set in their ways?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. And then once we get to be adults, we're like, okay, this is this, this is this, this is this. What if you operated from the child's point of view? Is there's always something new and different, and I'm going to change and expand and explore, and wow, who am I today? And what grand and glorious adventures are we going to have?
Well, and a kid doesn't pick up a truck and say, well, if I pick this up, now I'm stuck with playing with this truck the rest of my life. Right? They explore, they play with it, they put it down, they do something with it that's completely different than what that toy was intended for. And they explore and they play.
Yeah, exactly.
And, yeah. What if you could play?
Yeah.
One of the things I'm looking at our description, because we've been talking a lot about being willing for yourself to just shift and change and be present and things. You had put in the description also about what other people are expecting of you. Like, do you do what people think you should be doing, or do you do your own thing? And so often, what I'm thinking of is, you're raised and your parents are expecting you to go into the profession they had. And, or just because you've gone to graduate school, maybe you've become a doctor, and, that's so much time and money you put into doing that. And then people feel like, well, now I can't do something else. So where all are you, like, I don't know, defining yourself in some narrow way in relation to other people and what they will think, and that you can't give up that good job to go right.
I know 2 doctors who walked away from it and are now having way more fun doing other things.
I know a lawyer who walked away from it to be an actor.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Please give yourself permission to reinvent yourself, even on a daily basis.
Yep. That one of the tools that we use is, who am I today and what grand and glorious adventures can I have?
Yes.
Like, what if every day you wake up and you don't have to be everything exactly you were yesterday. Yeah. And you can actually ask questions and choose and follow the energy and show up different.
And the other thing I would say is, take a look, because we all do it, Pam and myself included. Take a look where you're expecting others to be a certain way. Because it's not only not kind to them, it's not kind to you in the relationship, whatever it is that you have, because then it can't grow and change. I remember saying to Pam once, I thought you only drank red wine. She says, no, I'm drinking white wine these days. And I had to laugh because the implications are so much bigger than that.
Yeah. Wait, you're showing up different today than I have seen you usually do. What's going on?
Yeah, and not you should go back and be this way, but what's happening? What are you changing in your life? How can I contribute? Because that gives both of you the space to be and change and grow and create different things.
Yep. Yep. I think that's a great place to end our conversation.
All righty then.
Let's cue the music. Thanks, everybody.